the prospects, for a lot of the PSU banks, as you well know, latter is not great. They might have repaired the balance sheet, but they haven't repaired anything else.
I take your point on that, but NBFCs are a different kettle of fish. In fact, they are a varyingly different kettle. There are all shades of quality in that basket. You put them even below PSU in your pecking order.
No, I just went through the banks, PSUs, and then NBFCs. So not pecking order in that respect, no.
Okay. But you would be buying some of the NBFCs, would you?
Yes.
Okay, Andrew, before we let you go, so your thoughts, can we hope for reversal against PSG, or is that a gone case now?
Well, I'm hoping, that we'll wake up and it'll be the Real Madrid story for PSG, right? So
yes.
That's what we're hoping
That's
for.
the hope.
But, we sadly, we do have a lot of players out, so I'd love to say that's the headline you're going to see, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the classical case of, what the head says and what the heart says, right, Andrew?
Yes, exactly.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Andrew, it's always a pleasure having you with us on the channel. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to dwell a little more on the NBFC space because, again, this is a CNBC TV exclusive which broke first on this channel. The National Housing Bank has proposed to increase the capital adequacy ratio, reduce borrowing limits for housing finance companies over the next 3 years. So it's just a call that's coming in advance, and these rules have not kicked in yet. The NHB, the regulator, has called for an industry response by March 31st, and thereafter the higher capital kicks in. Just to revise, the higher capital it's at the moment they have to keep 12% capital. By 2022, the proposals say the capital has to go up to 15%. Also, that impacts the amount of borrowing, the amount of times you can lever. Thirdly, there are borrowing limits also that have come in. Kunal Shah, the Associate Director at Edelweiss Financial Services, joins us now. Good morning, Kunal. Thank you very much for joining us. In your reckoning, who are not going to be impacted by this increase in capital call?
Yeah, good morning. So overall, when we look at most of the housing finance companies, they already have the capital adequacy upwards of 14% odd. And when we look at it, a significant part of it is, say, Tier 1 capital. Overall, there is still enough of a legroom for them to raise Tier 2 capital as such, provided that they fall very well within the leverage cap, which has also been proposed by NHB. So I think most of them are comfortably placed given this kind of a capital adequacy, but still within this entire set of housing finance companies, the players wherein the capital adequacy or Tier 1 ratio is relatively low, still much above the overall regulatory requirement, are say the one LIC and PNB Housing Finance, which are somewhere around 14 odd %.
Okay. All right, 14%. Kunal, what are your top picks in the sector now? And from your ground checks, is there any indication that the worst of the liquidity crisis is behind us?
So overall, over last 3-4 months, we have been very closely monitoring the liquidity and how the flow of funds is impacting the overall developer financing segment. So as far as the retail is concerned, we have seen the traction coming back. So most of the housing finance companies have started the disbursements, at least for the home loans. However, as far as the developer financing is concerned, there are no new major incremental commitments which are there. Maybe from the past sanctions or for the or at the construction stage, there is further disbursements which is happening. Considering this entire scenario, we believe HDFC Limited is well positioned to consolidate their leadership positioning, given the other players are going relatively slow. So we see them benefiting overall in terms of growth, in terms of pricing power, and even on their non-individual book, the asset quality would be well maintained for them. So our top pick within the housing finance space is HDFC at this point in time.
Okay, I just want to know any casualties because of this limit on borrowing. I think now the borrowing is going to be capped at 12 times the net owned funds. It used to be, it is at the moment 16 times. It will get capped. Anybody affected seriously because of that?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Sorry.
No, the
voice is
borrowing
not
limit
audible.
is going to be brought down to 12 times the net owned funds. Will that affect anybody?
Yeah, so if you look, there are 4 entities which are there at more than 10 times leverage to the net worth. And as I mentioned, few of the names which are there is Diwan, LIC, GRU and GIC. They have more than 10x. It's still below the of 12, but time maybe 18 to 24 months.
Okay. Well, Kunal, there's a problem with the line. But we've got your point that LIC housing, GIC housing, Diwan housing are very close to the borrowing limit, but they're still below the new borrowing limit. And anyway, they have time. So not worried about any of the housing finance companies as of now. I'm just completing Kunal's statement. I assume that's what he wanted to say. Let's do one thing. Kunal, you want